Every game, every team, every angle. Locked On Game to Game, your team every day.
2 up, 2 down. Your Ohio State Buckeyes in the second game of the season take care of the Arkansas State Red Wolves 45-12. What's up, guys? My name is Jay Stevens, the host of Locked On Buckeyes, and the Buckeye defense, who had a phenomenal performance last week against Notre Dame, had another impressive performance today, holding the Red Wolves to only 53 rushing yards, and Arkansas State only converted 5 of their 20 third down attempts. But the story of this game was Marvin Harrison Jr., who was out here stunting like his daddy. He had 7 receptions, 184 receiving yards, and 3 touchdowns. Emeka Egbuka added in 4 receptions with 118 receiving yards and 1 trip to the end zone of his own. Those two combined for 302 of Ohio State's 370 receiving yards in the entire game. The Buckeyes, they're 2-0, and I can't wait to see them play next week against Toledo because the outcome might be as lopsided as this week's.
The Badgers drop a game against Washington State as 17-point home favorites. I am Ryan Harings, host of Locked On Badgers, and this was not a game on Graham Mertz. We've talked about Graham Mertz a lot, the quarterback of the Badgers, as the lightning rod for criticism. The reason the Badgers haven't been able to get over the hump. He was good in this game. He was plenty good. And it was the rest of the team and the game plan and the coaching and the special teams that let him down. Right? It was a de-emphasis on the passing game in the second half. It was penalties, turnovers, special teams mistakes, 2 missed field goals, a botched job on a kickoff return coverage, botched punt return coverage. You know, it was all of that led to this game unraveling around Graham Mertz, who actually played pretty well. This is on Paul Chryst. This is on the Badgers coaching staff. And how they respond will really show us where this team is going this year. I am Ryan Harings. For more, check out Locked On Badgers, your team every single day as we continue to break this down.
Iowa State knocks off Iowa 10-7, the final here from Kinnick Stadium. I'm Trent Condon with the Locked On Hawkeyes podcast. Another inept offensive performance from the Hawkeyes. 150 yards of total offense, including just 92 through the year, as Iowa falls 10-7 to Iowa State. Our final here tonight. 313 yards of total offense from Iowa State as they get things done. Iowa State gets the victory and ends the losing streak at 6 games. A frustrating effort, certainly. The questions become Iowa, what they do going forward. Spencer Petras, a struggle at the quarterback position, and a big struggle from Brian Ferentz once again at the offensive coordinator position. We'll get much more coming your way on the Locked On Hawkeyes podcast. Thanks for joining us here today. Iowa State, a winner today.
One of the weirdest IU games maybe ever, but ultimately the Hoosiers come away with a 2-0 record after a 35-22 win over Idaho on Saturday night. This is Jacob Rude with Locked On Hoosiers, and things could have hardly been worse for Indiana after the first half. Earnestly one of the worst halves of football IU has ever played, followed by a third quarter where they look like they could beat just about anybody, trail 10-0 at halftime, score 35 points in the second half to win ultimately somewhat comfortably, though Idaho did enough late to keep it at least a little bit interesting. IU ran the ball incredibly effectively, 36 carries for 239 yards. Sean Shivers with 20 carries for 155 yards and a touchdown. Connor Bazelak, awful in the first half, tremendous in the second half, 197 yards, pair of touchdowns, both those coming in the latter 2 quarters. IU has a lot of things it still needs to figure out at this point, but it's a lot easier to figure those things out when you're winning, when you're still unbeaten. We certainly will have a lot more to talk about this game as the Hoosiers continue trudging forward every day over at Locked On Hoosiers.
Well, this week, Fitz said Northwestern needed to start faster. They failed to do that. I'm Carter Bird, host of the Locked On Northwestern podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Well, the defense lost the 6-inch ward. So a battle in the trenches that Fitz talks so much about how important it is to win. They kind of got bullied up front by Duke's offensive line to the tune of 221 rushing yards. And in the process, the offense didn't do much to help. After having some initial success up the middle running the football, they started testing the edge, curiously. Did not find much success and dug themselves a 21-0 hole. When you do that, you generally have a you don't have a lot of room for error, and that played out over the course of the day. Helinski had a strong day, passing for 435 yards, 2 touchdowns, but a late pick kind of left a bad taste in your mouth as Northwestern stalled out down 5. Duke goes down, kicks a field goal to go back up 8. Evan Hull really put the team on his back the whole game. 31 touches, 278 yards, and 2 touchdowns, 213 receiving yards. Unfortunately, he came up just a yard short as he fumbled diving for the end zone on the final drive, and Duke recovered to win the game. Final score, 31-23. And for more, check out Locked On Northwestern on YouTube or wherever you get your podcast. Your team every day.